What if I told you that the difference between success and failure isn't about making dramatic changes, but rather about the power of tiny, almost imperceptible improvements? Welcome to the world of atomic habits, where small changes create remarkable results. Thanks for tuning into Unbound Library, your own channel today. If you're new here and enjoy transformative book summaries that can change your life in minutes, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Before we dive in, I want to clarify that what you're about to hear is just a summary of James Clear's groundbreaking book, Atomic Habits. While I'll share the core concepts and key takeaways, I strongly recommend purchasing and reading the entire book to fully absorb its life-changing wisdom. The complete work contains numerous examples, exercises, and deeper insights that can truly transform your habits and ultimately your life. Now, let's explore how tiny changes can lead to remarkable results through James Clear's 4 fundamental laws of behavior change. Introduction to Atomic Habits. In Atomic Habits, James Clear presents a groundbreaking approach to personal development through the power of tiny changes. Clear introduces the concept that remarkable results don't come from massive, overnight transformations, but rather from the compound effect of small habits practiced consistently over time. The core philosophy of the book revolves around the idea that if you improve by just 1% each day, you'll end up 37 times better after a year. Clear explains that our habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them, making small improvements or deteriorations add up over time to significant changes. He writes, "Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement," highlighting how consistent, small actions accumulate into life-changing results. The author shares his personal journey of transformation after a devastating accident in high school that ended his baseball career. Through systematic habit building, he not only recovered, but eventually became a successful athlete and writer. This personal narrative sets the stage for Clear's evidence-based approach to habit formation and behavior change. Key themes. Throughout the book, Clear emphasizes that success isn't about dramatic innovations, but about repeating small habits with consistency and patience. He introduces the concept of atomic habits, tiny changes that yield enormous results when compounded over time. The foundation of the book rests on understanding the true nature of habit formation, identity-based habits rather than outcome-based goals. Why this summary matters. For busy individuals between 25 to 50 years old who struggle with consistent positive behaviors, this summary distills Clear's practical framework into applicable insights. By exploring each chapter in detail, readers will gain comprehensive understanding of the 4 laws of behavior change and how to implement them effectively in daily life. Let's now explore each chapter of Atomic Habits, extracting the key concepts, practical examples, and transformative stories that James Clear uses to illustrate his philosophy of tiny changes leading to remarkable results. Chapter 1. The surprising power of atomic habits. James Clear opens the book by explaining the concept of atomic habits, tiny changes that yield enormous results when compounded over time. The term atomic refers to both the small size of these habits and their power, similar to atomic energy. Clear illustrates this principle with the British cycling team's transformation. Under coach Dave Brailsford's leadership, the team implemented a strategy of marginal gains, seeking 1% improvements in everything from obvious aspects like training to overlooked details like hand-washing techniques to prevent colds. This approach led the previously unsuccessful team to dominate the sport, winning multiple Tour de France races and Olympic medals. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations, writes Clear, emphasizing that breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions. He introduces the concept of the plateau of latent potential, explaining that progress isn't linear, but often involves an ice cube melting effect, where changes aren't visible until they reach a critical threshold. Clear challenges readers to shift focus from goals to systems. While goals set direction, systems determine progress. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, he notes, explaining that winners and losers often share the same goals, but success comes from having superior systems. The chapter concludes by introducing the 4 laws of behavior change that form the framework of the book. Make it obvious. Make it attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. These laws provide the structure for building good habits and breaking bad ones effectively. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 2. How your habits shape your identity and vice versa. In this pivotal chapter, James Clear introduces a revolutionary approach to habit formation: identity-based habits. He distinguishes between 3 levels of change: outcome change, what you get; process change, what you do; identity change, what you believe. Clear argues that most people focus on outcomes or processes, but lasting change comes from aligning habits with the type of person you wish to become. The most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become, he writes. Through examples like the story of a recovering alcoholic who declined a drink by simply stating, "I'm not a drinker," Clear demonstrates how identity-driven behavior is more powerful than outcome-driven behavior. When someone identifies as a non-smoker rather than someone trying to quit smoking, the habit change becomes more natural and sustainable. Clear introduces a 2-step process for identity-based habits. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become, Clear explains. These small votes accumulate to form evidence of your new identity, reinforcing behavior change at a fundamental level. The chapter concludes with the insight that habits not only help us achieve better results, but actually transform who we are. This shift from outcome-based goals to presented in subsequent chapters. Chapter 3: How to Build Better Habits in 4 Simple Steps. James Clear introduces the habit loop, the neurological feedback mechanism behind all habits. Drawing on research from neuroscience, Clear explains that all habits follow a 4-step pattern. Cue: a trigger that initiates behavior. Craving: the motivational force behind every habit. Response: the actual habit or action performed. Reward: the end goal of every habit. This 4-step pattern is the backbone of every habit, and your brain runs through these steps in the same order each time, Clear explains. He calls this the habit loop, a feedback system that allows your brain to efficiently process and respond to information. Clear illustrates this concept with everyday examples. A phone notification, cue, triggers curiosity, craving, which leads to checking the phone, response, resulting in satisfaction, reward. Similarly, seeing a cookie, cue, generates a desire for sugar, craving, leading to eating it, response, and experiencing pleasure, reward. Understanding this loop is crucial because it forms the foundation of the 4 laws of behavior change that Clear presents as systematic solutions. Law number 1: cue, make it obvious. Law number 2: craving, make it attractive. Law number 3: response, make it easy. Law number 4: reward, make it satisfying. For breaking bad habits, simply invert these laws. Make it invisible. Make it unattractive. Make it difficult. Make it unsatisfying. The genius of this framework is its versatility and practicality. Clear emphasizes that these laws can be applied to virtually any habit, providing a reliable template for behavior change. By understanding and manipulating these 4 steps, readers can design their environment and routines to support desired habits. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 4: The Man Who Didn't Look Right. This chapter introduces the crucial concept of habit awareness. James Clear explains that before we can effectively change our habits, we must become aware of them, as many of our daily behaviors occur unconsciously. Clear shares the story of a World War II American submarine commander who saved his crew by ordering them to surface, despite all instruments indicating they should remain submerged. His intuition was triggered by something not looking right, which turned out to be critical. They were actually headed toward shore. This illustrates how unconscious patterns influence our perception and decision-making. To combat unconscious habits, Clear introduces the Habit Scorecard, an exercise where you list your daily habits and mark them as positive, plus, negative, or neutral, ew. His simple awareness exercise helps identify which behaviors contribute to the person you want to become and which detract from that identity. The first step to changing bad habits is to be on the lookout for them, Clear writes. He shares how patients who kept a daily food log often became aware of patterns they hadn't noticed before, like snacking while watching television. Clear emphasizes the point through behavioral scientist Timothy Wilson's research, noting that humans observe others more than themselves. We don't notice the things we do repeatedly, making habits difficult to change without first bringing them into conscious awareness. The chapter concludes with guidance on using the habit scorecard, encouraging readers to be honest but not judgmental when assessing their habits. This objective awareness creates the foundation for implementing the first law of behavior change. Make it obvious. Chapter 5. The best way to start a new habit. In this practical chapter, James Clear introduces implementation intentions, a powerful strategy for habit formation expressed as, I will behavior at time in location. Clear cites research demonstrating the effectiveness of this approach, including a study where participants who created specific plans for when and where they would exercise were significantly more likely to follow through compared to a control group that merely tracked their exercise. We tell ourselves, I'm going to eat healthier, or I'm going to write more, but we never say when and where these habits are going to happen, Clear explains. By being specific about the details, implementation intentions remove the decision-making process when the moment for action arrives. The author introduces habit stacking as an effective variation of this technique. This involves pairing a new habit with an existing one using the formula after current habit, I will new habit. This leverages the connection of behaviors, making existing habits the cue for new ones. Clear provides practical examples. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute, or after I put my kids to bed, I will prepare my clothes for tomorrow. He explains that the key is identifying the right trigger, something you do reliably at a specific time. The chapter concludes with advice on selecting the right cue. Clear emphasizes that the more specific the implementation intention, the more effective it will be. He suggests creating an implementation intention for habits you've been struggling to maintain, providing a clear roadmap for turning intentions into actions. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 6. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. In this enlightening chapter, James Clear challenges conventional wisdom about motivation by highlighting the outsized role our environment plays in shaping behavior. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior, he writes, explaining how physical surroundings subtly but significantly influence our actions. Clear introduces the concept of choice architecture, the practice of designing environments to encourage certain behaviors. He shares examples ranging from schools placing fruit at eye level in cafeterias to increase healthy eating, to how the size of dinner plates affects portion control. The author emphasizes context as a cue for habits, explaining that our brain associates specific environments with certain behaviors. For instance, entering a movie theater might trigger popcorn cravings, even when we're not hungry. This explains why people often revert to old habits when returning to familiar environments. The context cues remain unchanged. Clear provides practical advice for redesigning your environment. To build new habits, make the cues obvious in your environment. For each habit, identify a clear and specific cue. Gradually, your desired behavior will become associated with certain contexts. He introduces the concept of behavior spaces, how we have different behaviors associated with different locations. Clear suggests creating dedicated spaces for specific activities, such as using the kitchen table only for eating, not working. Through vivid examples, Clear demonstrates how small environmental changes can lead to significant behavioral shifts. He encourages readers to design their environment to make good habits obvious and bad habits invisible, reinforcing the first law of behavior change. Make it obvious. Chapter 7. The Secret to Self-Control. In this counterintuitive chapter, James Clear challenges traditional notions of willpower and self-control. Rather than viewing self-discipline as a virtue to cultivate, he presents evidence that the most disciplined people actually structure their lives to reduce the need for willpower. The people with the best self-control are typically the ones who need to use it the least, Clear writes. He shares research by psychologist Brian Wansink, showing that people with high self-control spend less time in tempting situations, effectively making their good habits easier by avoiding triggers for bad habits. Clear introduces the powerful concept of the cue-induced wanting, explaining how environmental triggers can create powerful cravings even when we're not hungry, tired, or in need. This explains why an ex-smoker might suddenly crave a cigarette when seeing someone light up, or why walking past a bakery can trigger hunger even after eating. The chapter provides practical strategies for eliminating bad habit cues. Remove temptations from your environment, hiding junk food using website blockers. Avoid situations where bad habits are triggered, taking a different route to avoid passing a fast food restaurant. Break the association between cue and habit through new contexts. Clear illustrates this with vivid examples, including how Vietnam War veterans who were heroin users in Vietnam largely stopped using when they returned home to different environments without the same cues. The chapter concludes with Clear's inversion of the first law of behavior change: make it invisible. By reducing exposure to negative cues, we can make bad habits harder to start and easier to avoid altogether, suggesting that environmental design is more effective than sheer willpower. The chapter concludes with guidance on using the habit scorecard, encouraging readers to be honest but not judgmental when assessing their habits. And click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 8. How to Make a Habit Irresistible. James Clear begins this chapter by explaining how the brain's reward system influences habit formation. Dopamine, often called the reward hormone, is actually released not only when we experience pleasure, but in anticipation of it. This anticipation drives our cravings and motivates behavior. Clear introduces the Diderot effect, named after French philosopher Denis Diderot, who received a scarlet robe as a gift and subsequently replaced his entire modest home furnishings to match its elegance. This illustrates how one purchase often leads to a spiral of related purchases, demonstrating the powerful nature of temptation bundling. The cornerstone strategy Clear presents is temptation bundling, pairing an activity you need to do with something you want to do. He cites a study where people were allowed to listen to addictive audiobooks only while exercising, resulting in significantly increased gym attendance. Temptation bundling works by linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do. Clear explains, providing examples like only watching your favorite show while on the treadmill, only getting a massage after completing your monthly budget, only enjoying your favorite coffee shop while doing expense reports. The concept can be formalized as after habit I need, I will habit I want, or combined with habit stacking. After current habit, I will habit I need. After habit I need, I will habit I want. Clear concludes the chapter by explaining that making habits attractive is essential because we're more likely to repeat behaviors that deliver immediate satisfaction. By leveraging temptation, bundling, we can transform necessary but unappealing tasks into more enticing experiences, making good habits more sustainable through their association with immediate rewards. Chapter 9. The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. In this socially oriented chapter, James Clear explores how our habits are profoundly influenced by those around us. We imitate the habits of three social groups: the close, family and friends; the many, the tribe; and the powerful, those with status and prestige. Clear writes, highlighting the deeply social nature of human behavior. Clear explains how we adopt behaviors to fit in with our social groups through the concept of social norms, the invisible rules that guide group behavior. He cites examples ranging from Solomon Asch's famous conformity experiments to studies showing how behaviors like smoking, obesity, and even happiness spread through social networks. The author introduces practical strategies for harnessing social influence. Join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Seek environments where the habits you want to build are standard practices. Create a new tribe where your preferred identity and habits are the norm. One of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Clear advises, explaining how surrounding yourself with people who have the habits you want to develop makes change easier. The chapter includes compelling examples, such as how the Polgar sisters became chess champions by immersing themselves in a chess-focused environment created by their father, and how we naturally pick up the language, accent, and mannerisms of those around us. Clear concludes with guidance on using social pressure's positive aspects while maintaining individual identity, encouraging readers to determine which values and habits to adopt from their social environment. This understanding of social influence is central to making habits attractive, the second law of behavior change. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 10. How to Find and Fix the Causes of Your Bad Habits. In this insightful chapter, James Clear examines the underlying motives behind our habits. Every behavior has a surface-level craving and a deeper underlying motive, he explains, introducing the concept that habits are merely modern-day solutions to ancient evolutionary desires. Clear identifies four main underlying motives that drive most habits: conservation of energy, efficiency, obtaining food and water, sustenance, finding love and reproducing, connection, securing status and standing, approval. For example, we play video games because they provide an artificial sense of achievement and status. We check social media for connection and approval. We eat junk food because our brains are wired to crave calorie-dense foods from our ancestral past. The author presents a powerful reframing technique for habit transformation. Habits are attractive when we associate them with positive feelings. Rather than thinking, "I need to run in the morning," which sounds like a burden, Clear suggests reframing it as, "It's time to build endurance and get stronger," highlighting the benefit rather than the obligation. This leads to his practical strategy for habit change: the habit reframing formula. Highlight the benefits of avoiding bad habits. Emphasize the positive aspects of sticking with good habits. Clear provides illuminating examples like reframing meditation from "I have to meditate" to "I get to calm my mind and improve focus," shifting the perspective from burden to opportunity. The chapter concludes with the insight that connecting habits to deep motivations makes them more attractive and sustainable. Our habits are modern-day solutions to ancient desires. Clear notes, explaining that understanding the root causes of our habits allows us to find more satisfying ways to address our fundamental human needs. Chapter 11. Walk slowly, but never backward. James Clear opens this chapter with a profound shift in perspective about habit formation. The best way to start a new habit is to make it so easy you can't say no. He challenges conventional wisdom about massive action, suggesting instead that the secret to lasting change is taking tiny, consistent actions. Clear introduces the concept of the 2-minute rule, which states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The strategy involves downscaling habits to make them manageable starting points. Read before bed each night becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. The point is to master the habit of showing up, Clear explains, noting that once you've established the habit, you can gradually improve. He calls these gateway behaviors decisive moments that lead to significant outcomes, using the example of changing into workout clothes as the gateway to actually exercising. Clear shares the story of author Twyla Tharp, who considers her daily routine of hailing a taxi to go to the gym as the most important part of her habit. The actual taxi hailing is her ritual, the decisive moment that initiates the chain of positive behaviors. The chapter offers a crucial insight about standardization before optimization. You have to standardize before you can optimize. Clear advises establishing the habit first, then improving performance. He uses examples like gold medal-winning athletes who begin with fundamentals before advancing to complex techniques. Clear concludes with a powerful metaphor. Habits are like entrance ramps to highways, determining the direction of our lives through small decisions. The 2-minute rule makes building these critical habits more achievable by focusing on the crucial first steps rather than the ultimate destination. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 12, The Law of Least Effort. In this chapter, James Clear explores the principle that humans naturally gravitate toward behaviors that require the least effort. We are motivated to do what is easy, Clear writes, explaining how this evolutionary tendency to conserve energy significantly influences which habits we adopt. Clear introduces the concept of friction as it applies to behavior. Every habit faces a certain amount of resistance. By reducing friction associated with good habits and increasing friction for bad habits, we can significantly influence behavior without relying on motivation or willpower. The author provides practical strategies for designing low-friction environments. Reduce steps between you and good habits, preparing workout clothes the night before. Increase steps between you and bad habits, keeping junk food out of sight. Prime your environment for future use, setting out equipment in advance. Clear shares compelling examples such as how Google made healthy options more accessible in their office kitchens, resulting in employees consuming 3.1 million fewer calories from candy in just 7 weeks. He also explains how Japanese manufacturers optimize workflow by arranging tools and components to minimize wasted movement. The concept of choice architecture appears again, with Clear advising readers to become architects of their own environments. Design your environment to make actions that align with your desired identity the path of least resistance. The chapter concludes with a powerful insight about habit formation. Effort often matters more than time. Make your habits as convenient as possible to do and as inconvenient as possible to avoid, Clear advises, reinforcing the third law of behavior change: make it easy. By understanding and applying the law of least effort, readers can design environments where good habits become the default choice rather than the exception. Chapter 13, How to Stop Procrastinating by Using the 2-minute Rule. In this practical chapter, James Clear expands on the 2-minute rule introduced earlier, offering it as a powerful antidote to procrastination. The 2-minute rule states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Clear reiterates, emphasizing that nearly any habit can be distilled into a 2-minute version. In this practical chapter, James Clear expands on the 2-minute rule introduced earlier, offering it as a powerful antidote to procrastination. The 2-minute rule states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Clear reiterates, emphasizing that nearly any habit can be distilled into a 2-minute version. Become a productive writer becomes write 1 sentence. Eat healthier becomes prepare 1 healthy meal. Learn an instrument becomes pick up and play for 2 minutes. The author introduces the concept of habit shaping, a technique where habits are gradually built up in complexity over time. This 3-phase process involves master the art of showing up, the 2-minute version. Advance to the actual habit you want to establish. Optimize for continued improvement. Clear shares the story of Olympic coach Darryl Ford, who viewed habit formation as analogous to developing a photograph, a gradual process where the picture becomes clearer with time and proper development. The more you ritualize the beginning of a process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into the state of deep focus required to do great things, Clear writes, explaining how these small starts create momentum that carries through to more significant actions. The chapter concludes with the insight that the 2-minute rule isn't about results, but about the process of becoming the type of person who performs these behaviors regularly. By making habits easy to start, we overcome the initial resistance that leads to procrastination, allowing us to gradually build toward more substantial behavior change. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 14. How to Make Good Habits Inevitable and Bad Habits Impossible. James Clear opens this chapter with a powerful concept. The ultimate way to lock in future behavior is to automate your habits. He introduces commitment devices, choices made in the present that control future actions, as a strategy for ensuring good habits persist even when motivation wanes. Clear shares compelling examples of commitment devices throughout history. Victor Hugo locked away his clothes to force himself to write when facing a deadline. Thomas Schelling, a Nobel Prize-winning economist, asked his doctor to take X-rays of his lungs and write death on any showing cancer to prevent himself from smoking. A commitment device is a choice you make in the present that controls your actions in the future, Clear explains. These devices work by increasing the immediate cost of bad habits or reducing the friction for good ones. They range from simple actions like asking a waiter not to bring bread before dinner to more comprehensive approaches like using technology to block distracting websites. The author introduces the concept of one-time actions that automate future habits, such as setting up automatic bill payments, using email filters to prioritize messages, purchasing higher quality equipment that encourages good habits. Clear emphasizes technology's potential as both a commitment device and a distraction, suggesting strategies like using website blockers during work hours or apps that prevent social media use after certain times. The chapter concludes with a profound insight about self-control. The best way to break a bad habit is to make it impractical to do. Increase the friction until you don't even have the option to act. By manipulating our environment with commitment devices, we can make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible, removing willpower from the equation entirely. Chapter 15. The Cardinal Rule of Behavior Change. In this pivotal chapter, James Clear introduces the fourth law of behavior change. Make it satisfying. He explains that while the first 3 laws, make it obvious, attractive, and easy, determine whether a habit is performed, the 4th law determines whether it will be repeated. Clear introduces the concept of immediate versus delayed rewards. explaining that the human brain prioritizes immediate payoffs over future benefits. The cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided, he writes. This mismatch between immediate and delayed rewards creates what Clear calls the misery of the moment, the gap between short-term discomfort and long-term satisfaction. He provides examples like the immediate discomfort of exercise versus the delayed benefit of better health, the immediate pleasure of spending versus the delayed benefit of financial security. To overcome this challenge, Clear introduces the strategy of adding immediate pleasure to habits with delayed rewards. A businessman who allowed himself to have a massage after paying his taxes. A woman who watched Netflix while ironing to make a tedious task enjoyable. A professor who only allowed himself to drink his favorite coffee while grading papers. The more immediate pleasure you get from an action, the more strongly you should question whether it aligns with your long-term goals, Clear advises, explaining that both good and bad habits can offer immediate satisfaction. The chapter concludes with guidance on attaching immediate rewards to habits with naturally delayed outcomes. Clear suggests creating a habit contract with clearly defined rewards for good behavior and consequences for missing targets. By making good habits immediately satisfying, we increase the likelihood they'll be repeated, even when the ultimate benefits might take time to materialize. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 16. How to Stick with Good Habits Every Day. In this practical chapter, James Clear introduces habit tracking as a powerful tool for maintaining consistency. One of the most satisfying feelings is the feeling of making progress, Clear writes, explaining how visual measures of progress can provide immediate satisfaction for habits with delayed rewards. Clear presents habit tracking as a solution that makes habits obvious through visual cues, creates a motivating sense of progress, the paperclip strategy, feels satisfying, providing immediate gratification for long-term habits. The author shares compelling examples, including how Jerry Seinfeld used a calendar to mark days he wrote jokes, the "don't break the chain" method, and how Benjamin Franklin tracked 13 virtues he wanted to develop using a simple grid. Clear offers practical advice for implementing habit tracking. Don't break the chain. Try to keep a habit streak going, never miss twice. If you miss once, get back on track immediately. Use physical trackers for visibility, paper calendars, journals, or apps. Don't break the chain becomes a powerful mantra for consistency, but Clear balances this with the realistic never miss twice rule. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit, he explains, providing guidance on how to recover from inevitable lapses. The chapter addresses potential pitfalls of habit tracking, warning against measuring the wrong things or becoming too focused on tracking at the expense of the actual behavior. C. Clear emphasizes that tracking itself is merely a tool, not the ultimate goal. Measurement is only useful when it guides you and adds context to a larger picture, not when it consumes you. Clear concludes with the reminder that habits tracked are habits improved, reinforcing the fourth law of behavior change. Make it satisfying. By providing visual evidence of progress, habit tracking bridges the gap between immediate effort and delayed rewards. Chapter 17. How an accountability partner can change everything. In this socially oriented chapter, James Clear explores how public commitment and negative consequences can strengthen habit formation. One of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior, Clear writes, explaining how social pressure can reinforce positive behaviors. The author introduces the concept of habit contracts, written agreements with clear consequences for violation. He shares the example of Brian Harris, an entrepreneur who created a contract stating that if he broke his diet, he would have to make significant donations to political organizations he despised, creating both financial and ideological penalties for failure. Clear outlines 3 levels of accountability. Private commitments, like personal goals. Public commitments, telling others about your intentions. Formal accountability, creating contracts with real consequences. The more immediate and costly a mistake is, the faster you will learn from it, Clear explains, noting how public embarrassment or financial penalties create immediate feedback that reinforces good behavior. The chapter explores how creating an environment with the right accountability partners can dramatically increase success rates. Clear shares research showing that patients with accountability partners consistently achieved better outcomes in weight loss, medication adherence, and other health behaviors. Clear concludes by emphasizing that combining social accountability with immediate consequences creates a powerful environment for habit change. B. By making the cost of bad behaviors painful and immediate, we align our natural desire to avoid discomfort with our long-term objectives, effectively inverting the fourth law of behavior change. Make it unsatisfying to break commitments. Chapter 18. The truth about talent. When genes matter and when they don't. In this nuanced chapter, James Clear explores the relationship between genetics, environment, and habit formation. The secret to maximizing your odds of success is to choose the right field of competition. Clear writes, introducing the concept that we should build habits that align with our natural abilities and tendencies. Clear presents the concept of personality habit fit, explaining that habits are easier to maintain when they align with our inherent inclinations. He introduces the distinction between exploring, trying many possibilities, and exploiting, focusing on what works, suggesting that exploration should precede exploitation. The author offers several practical strategies for finding the right fit. Explore many possibilities to identify natural strengths. Choose games where the odds are in your favor, environments that match your abilities. Accept that not all habits are for everyone. Personalization matters. Until you work as hard as those you admire, don't explain away their success as luck. Clear advises, explaining that genes may determine potential, but habits determine results. He shares examples of how world-class performers like Michael Phelps have physical advantages but still rely on consistent habits to achieve success. Clear introduces the Goldilocks rule, the idea that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right at the edge of their current abilities. The greatest threat to success is not failure but boredom, he notes, explaining how maintaining interest is often more challenging than developing initial enthusiasm. The chapter concludes with the insight that while we should pick the right terrain that matches our natural abilities, consistent habits remain essential regardless of genetic potential. By aligning habits with our natural inclinations, we increase the likelihood of long-term success and fulfillment. If you're finding these insights helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Unbound Library and click the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. Chapter 19, The Goldilocks Rule. How to stay motivated in life and work. In this motivational chapter, James Clear explores how to maintain interest and enthusiasm for habits over the long term. The Goldilocks rule states that humans experience peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current abilities. Clear explains, introducing the concept of the flow state, where challenge and ability are perfectly matched. Clear demonstrates how this principle applies across domains. In gaming, difficulty levels adjust to maintain challenge without frustration. In education, effective learning occurs when content is neither too easy nor too difficult. In work, engagement is highest when tasks stretch our abilities without overwhelming us. The greatest threat to success is not failure, but boredom, Clear writes, explaining that while establishing habits is crucial, maintaining them requires continued engagement and interest. He shares how even elite athletes like Novak Djokovic must overcome boredom and maintain discipline during countless practice sessions. The author introduces the concept of variable rewards, how introducing unpredictability into rewards can increase dopamine and motivation. This explains why gambling is addictive and why checking social media remains compelling despite diminishing returns. Clear offers a powerful distinction between professionals and amateurs. Professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way. He shares examples of writers who produce work daily, regardless of inspiration, and athletes who train consistently, regardless of how they feel. The chapter concludes with Clear's concept of falling in love with boredom, embracing the mundane aspects of habit maintenance as the price of admission for mastery. The only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over, he writes, encouraging readers to find satisfaction in the process rather than just the outcomes of their habits. Chapter 20. The Downside of Creating Good Habits. In this thought-provoking final chapter, James Clear examines the potential limitations of habits. The upside of habits is that we can do things without thinking. The downside is that we stop paying attention to little errors, Clear writes, introducing the concept of how automaticity can lead to complacency. Clear explores several downsides of habits. Habits create mental blind spots once behaviors become automatic. Established habits can prevent continued improvement by making us less sensitive to feedback. Identity-based habits can become too rigid, limiting growth in new directions. The author offers strategies to counteract these limitations. Reflection and review. Schedule regular assessment of habits and their effectiveness. Deliberate practice. Focus intensely on specific aspects of performance to avoid plateaus. Embrace beginner's mind. Maintain curiosity and openness even after developing expertise. Clear introduces a system of periodic reviews, including an annual review to reflect on the past year, and integrity reports to evaluate if actions align with values. He shares his personal practice of answering 3 questions twice per year. What went well? What didn't go well? What did I learn? Reflection and review enables the long-term improvement of all habits because it makes you aware of your mistakes and helps you consider possible paths for improvement. Clear explains, emphasizing how this metacognitive practice prevents habits from becoming stale or counterproductive. The chapter concludes with Clear's philosophy about continuous improvement. The tighter we cling to an identity, the harder it becomes to grow beyond it. He encourages maintaining flexibility in identity to allow for continued growth, suggesting that the ultimate purpose of habits isn't to achieve perfection, but to continuously evolve into better versions of ourselves. Conclusion: the secret to results that last. In his conclusion, James Clear consolidates the core principles of atomic habits, while expanding on the deeper philosophy behind lasting behavior change. Success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve, an endless process to refine. Clear writes, emphasizing that true habit mastery is about continuous, small improvements rather than dramatic transformations. Clear revisits his personal story, sharing how small, consistent habits helped him recover from a devastating injury and eventually thrive. He reinforces the book's central metaphor of atomic habits. Tiny changes that yield remarkable results when compounded over time. The author synthesizes the 4 laws of behavior change into a comprehensive framework. To build good habits, make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. To break bad habits, make them invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. Clear emphasizes that these laws can be applied in any order and in any combination, providing a versatile toolkit for behavior change in various contexts. The secret to getting results that last is to never stop making improvements, Clear advises, explaining that habits are not a finish line to be crossed, but a lifestyle to be lived. He encourages readers to embrace the continuous cycle of making and breaking habits as part of becoming the person they wish to be. The conclusion reinforces the book's identity-based approach to habit formation. Building better habits isn't about littering your day with life hacks. It's about becoming the type of person you want to be. Clear notes that every action we take is a vote for the type of person we want to become, and our identity emerges from these accumulated choices. Clear closes with an inspiring call to action, encouraging readers to trust the process of small improvements and to focus on becoming 1% better each day. Success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve, an endless process to refine, he concludes, reminding us that our habits ultimately determine who we become. As we conclude our exploration of James Clear's transformative work on habit formation, I hope these insights on making positive changes obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying have sparked inspiration in your daily lives. Remember, the journey to remarkable results begins with atomic habits, those tiny changes that compound over time to create extraordinary transformation. Whether you're building new habits or breaking old ones, the principles we've covered today provide a practical framework for sustainable change. Support the original work. If you found value in today's discussion, I strongly encourage you to purchase James Clear's original book, Atomic Habits. The complete work offers even deeper insights, practical exercises, and additional strategies that we couldn't fully cover today. The link to purchase the book is available in the description below. By supporting authors like James Clear, you not only gain access to their complete wisdom, but also enable them to continue creating life-changing content. Until next time, remember that small habits don't just add up, they compound. Your tiny changes today can lead to remarkable results tomorrow. Stay curious and keep growing.